Hey y'all, thanks for waiting for us. We had kind of a crazy issue with some lightning. Still not quite sure if we've figured everything out, but we're going to get started here anyway, and hopefully everything's working out all right on your end. If you would, as soon as you can hear and see anything, it'd be great if you let me know. I see a Take Your Time from Slade's VW, which is pretty cool. Let me go ahead and bring everybody in here. Oh, you can hear me okay. All right, you can. All right, very good. Thank you very much. I'm seeing spinning wheels and all kinds of craziness on this side. Okay, let's go ahead and get started then. We're live, guys. Thanks everyone for your patience. This was pretty awesome. Hopefully you can see us now. You should be able to see all three of us on the screen. Gonna go ahead and kill our music here. Right before we were supposed to go live, I was like, okay, I'm hitting the start button. Bang. Big lightning crash outside. Scared the dog. Killed my router. And everything had to come back online. And of course, I'm a noob here, so... had to figure out a few things along the way, but I think we're up and running. You can hear and see myself, and then on your left, good old Mike, and on your right, Gary. Everybody says yes. Okay, very cool. Thanks, Melissa. I appreciate that. And you say that the audio is good too. Woo! All right, so I think the rest of this is going to be a cakewalk after getting through that. So what are we doing today? We want to introduce a concept that is kind of originated between the three of us as a way of keeping ourselves motivated, kind of like a buddy system approach to getting our cars done this year. But before I get too ahead of myself, I want to make sure everybody knows our esteemed guests. These two guys are showing me a lot of support by just being a part of this, so thanks very much, Mike and Gary. I do appreciate your willingness to be subjected to this nonsense. Awesome. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate that. On your left, everyone, is good old Mike. He is, of course, good old Mike. You know him from his legendary podcasts and all the other cool content that he's posting on his YouTube channel. He's active on Instagram and Facebook. So if you haven't seen good old Mike, I don't know where you've been. So thanks thanks for joining us, good old Mike. And you bet, man. On your right, you see Gary from VW Jawbreaker, posting regularly on Wednesdays to his YouTube channel. Always really great VW content, whether it's a show or a get-together or the work that he's doing on his project that we'll be talking about pretty soon here. But awesome channel that's growing like crazy. Everybody knows Gary from VW Jawbreaker. So thanks for being here, Gary. Cool. So yeah, how you guys doing? Is everything going well for you this week? Well, my pleasure, Mike. Thanks very much. And how you doing, Gary? All good? Very cool. Any work done on the 60? Nice. Very nice. Looking forward to those updates. Slade says no audio from Mike or Gary, so let me check into that. Thanks for the heads up, y'all. Oh, that's awful. Yeah, stand by for me. I'm hearing them on my end, but that of course doesn't mean that y'all are hearing them on your end. checking a bunch of settings that I've only recently become familiar with. Guys, make a little bit of noise for me, and let's see if anybody can hear y'all now.
Hello, anybody hear me?
Is that working any better on the stream? There'll be about a 20-second delay here or so, but we'll see if this little setting change here worked. Funny thing is, I'm doing things that that didn't work in testing. You got to do the. There we go. All right, Fix It Scotty, aptly named, says I hear them now. Yeah, sometimes you got to do the plugs out test and throw yourself into the fire. So once again, we're leaning on our audience to be patient with us, and I appreciate everybody that's stuck around for this train wreck here that I'm creating.
Well, I mean, it's trial by fire, Brent. You're doing good so far, bud.
Yeah, as long as we can fix the problems, right?
Hey, we're moving forward every time.
You have to cut to a break right now, a commercial break, interruption.
Yeah, that would have been a good option to have. All right, so what we want to do is introduce our projects and then share maybe a few tips on how we're looking at them, and almost like project management. We don't have to get too serious with that stuff, but it helps if you can identify what your goal is and why you're doing it, and trying to maintain some kind of a balance between your project and the rest of life. We don't like to admit it, but there are higher priorities than our hobby. I know that's blasphemy, but we got to keep our relationships in check. We got to eat. We got to get some sleep. We got to do all those things, right? So we're going to share some tips on that. But
do we though, Brent? Do we?
Well, we're not always good at it, are we?
my wife's in the chat, y'all. So be cool. Be cool.
Awesome.
Oh,
awesome.
That's right. Yeah, sorry, Mr. Girl Mike.
Hey, we're going to identify significant others as support.
Yeah, the support staff.
A very important part of our success here. Cool. All right, so let me click some buttons here. Hopefully I don't break anything. I'm kind of spooked now. We're going to take a look at Mike's project first. Let me get a couple of things lined up here.
Okay, so since while you're doing that, since I couldn't hear the audio, I did want to reiterate. I just want to say thanks, Brent, for putting this on. This is a really cool thing you're doing to try to help motivate folks to get their projects done. And I'm just, it's an honor to be a part of it. So thank you for inviting me. And yeah, looking forward to talking about my project and what my goals are and that sort of thing. So this week, my wife went through the old photo albums and found some old pictures. We used to, I think you're pulling up one now. We used
you want to see the pictures, all right?
Oh, sorry. I thought that's what you were doing.
Yeah, you had the right idea, and I messed it up.
Oh.
So here's your slides there.
Right. So Melissa went through the photo albums and found some pictures of our cars when we were in high school. So that's what this is. If you're able to see it, can you guys see that picture on the stream?
Yep, I can. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. I think.
Yeah. It'll take a couple more seconds before they see it, but I think it's going out. Hey,
Richard, welcome to the party. Okay, so hopefully you can see it on the stream, but this is my Beetle. Technically it's a 71. It was assembled in 70. And it's my wife's ultra cool black Camaro that she had when we were teenagers, parked in my driveway. And when I originally got this 70, I call it a 70 Beetle. It was all stock, really. It was all one color. I don't have any pictures of it from when I first bought it. I ended up getting in an accident. The rear was crunched a bit, so I decided to convert it into a Baja. And this picture is sort of that intermediate phase where I hadn't really gotten the kit installed or anything. But, this is what I would call, personally, no judging here, but horrible yellow color that I never liked. Now, mature Mike now wishes he had left it horrible yellow color, but back when I was a teenager, it was not my style. So, yeah. So
wait, hold on. Question, Mike. You're saying that you're mature now? I can't.
That's a great point, Gary. It's a very relative term.
Oh,
So as opposed to 17-year-old Mike,
gotcha.
I'm at
You
least
lost me with when I was a teenager. You were actually a teenager at one point?
Mhm.
Whoa!
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, I was created like this myself, so I just thought that's how it worked for everybody else.
My beard was an inch shorter back then. It's um yeah. So I mean that's about all I have to say about this car. About this picture. My wife's
There you
car
go.
was way cooler than mine. This picture she took from across the street, and I cropped it a bit, and it's like as the Baja as it was when it was quote unquote sort of pseudo finished. Was never painted, but it was actually a complete Baja, like street Baja at that point.
Okay.
So that's what I drove around for about a year and a half or so. And then I got in the second accident with it, which crunched the front end, and that's when I sold it to my girlfriend's father. And life went
twist.
on. Yeah, life went on. I forgot about the Beetle. Life went on. Can't really see, but it has giant 50 tires on the back for a 1500 cc. It's ridiculous how big the tires were.
That's a
But,
tough look. I love the look of the rear end of a Baja. They just just stock. It doesn't have to have a bunch of craziness. I mean that's cool too, but that is just a tough look for a
So what
Beetle.
Brent's saying is he's a butt man.
Yeah, I hear you, Brent. Yeah, so spent a lot of hours with my dad working on this. Look at Gary cracking himself up. Look at that. Gary.
Just had to say it. You know,
Yeah.
I knew I was setting myself up when I said that. I'm like, all right, are these guys going to be able to stand it? Nope.
I let
Not
it
going to be
go.
able to stand it.
No.
I can't let it go. Sorry.
So
Sorry,
spent
Mike.
a lot of hours in the driveway with my dad working on this car when I was a teenager. And funny story, not really funny, but Melissa and I were going to the beach with a group of friends, and I was driving the Beetle, and the oil sending unit went out on the beach. Galveston's about an hour and a half away from where we lived here. And this was back in Houston. And the oil sending unit went out. I seized up the engine on the way to the beach. We never made it to the beach. Had to tow it all the way back with the smelly tow truck driver. Melissa and I rode back to the house. My dad managed to get another ugly yellow parts Beetle. Like somebody just gave it to him. So we got this extra engine out of that. Because that's how Beetle people are, right? I mean, like, hey, you need some parts? Here's a car. So for a long time, we had two bugs in the driveway. My dad rebuilt the 1500. This was before the internet or before anybody. He was a computer programmer / CPA. So, I mean, like, he was not like a mechanic, but just immensely intelligent guy. Anyway, you know how dads are. They're your heroes, right? So, of all these great memories of my dad working on this car with him, swapping out engines and stuff. But he's got dementia now, and he's basically gone. And then in 2018, we got that news that we thought he had Alzheimer's and he was declining. And then my father-in-law, because I married my girlfriend at the time, who we sold the car to her dad. I'm totally screwing this story up. At any rate, he gifted this car back to us. I had totally forgotten he had it. I was totally surprised. I had enough projects on my plate at the time when he gifted it back to us. We're like across the country now in North Carolina, and the bug is back in Houston. But my wife really, really wanted it back because sentimental and all of that. So we paid to have it shipped up to North Carolina, and I think you have a picture that coming off the truck, filled with
Also
parts.
a tough look.
You peek in there.
That is.
And father-in-law, Joe, was starting to convert it back to original at this point. That was his goal when he got it. He wanted to make it back to an original Beetle. So it's sort of partially converted back to original. And so this is it coming off the truck, shipping back to us here. And so we got it into the garage, and I started, basically the goal was, I want to actually finish this like as a Baja a street Baja, actually get it painted, because poor broke ass Mike, pardon my French, high school Mike didn't have money to have it painted. So not that I have money to have it painted now, but I don't have any excuses. So so the idea was, let's get it back to the way before I was mature. Yes, mature, and had more resources to get it done. So,
well, according to good old Melissa, she said you're not mature. Wait,
I caught that. No, he is not.
Talk show host. I feel like that talk show host that revealed that was a lie.
Okay.
That's a cool story, Mike. Yeah. That really is.
Yeah.
Man.
So my goal this year, you want to talk about goals, or did we have the current picture? So after we got this looks into, just I'll wrap this up. After in the garage,
this looks like where you are now here. This looks like your current residence, right?
This is my current house, yes. All right, yep. This is the current state.
There it is.
We got the engine out. We've got the doors off, and it's completely gutted on the inside, and the giant tires in the back are gone. But I need to do something about some body work, and I'm not worried about the body. Yeah, no, it looks kind of like Jawbreaker's ugly ex-girlfriend or something. But
it's the ugly stepsister.
Yikes.
I didn't mean Gary. I meant his car. Anyway, all right. So, so my goal this year is basically get that motor back in the car and get it running, get a seat in it, and have enough functional brakes that I can drive it up and down my street. That's what I want to do this year. Then next year, I put the doors back on it, of course. I know, but that would be, I guess maybe that's gravy. But then next year will be all about getting it, legal, and make sure the lights work and all that kind of fun stuff. So, what I want to finish, and what I'm looking forward to having some accountability partners in place for, is getting that motor running, getting it back in the ride, and getting it to where it moves on its own power. So.
I think we can do that for you.
Yeah.
It's a really cool car story because this is my A finger. One, you've got a long history, and my B finger, you've worked on it off and on for a long time, and it still hasn't gotten there. I can definitely relate to that. That's a part of the Dweezil story. For me. So you've got this long history, and you're ready to make it happen, and it's got sentimental value too. So you've got a why, right? It's not just a finishing what you started, which of course there's virtue in that, but that's an important part of understanding our goals is why we want to do these things. So we can kind of do that cross check. Is this a healthy thing? Am I trying to impress somebody, or is this just something that I want the experience of going through the process and the experience of ownership and daily driving and much healthier, right? So you got a really well-defined goal there. That's a really cool story. I'd love to support you in doing that.
I appreciate that. Thank you for doing that. I'll stop it with this. So what I did find is in the process of tearing it down and getting into it and stuff, it brought back a lot of those memories with my dad. And even though initially I was not excited about the project, given I had other stuff going on, it really just grew on me more the more I worked on it. So I personally feel very sentimental to it now as well, and it's we'll never get rid of it. And so it'll just be really cool, even if we just take it out for local shows and to go grab an ice cream or something. It would be a big win for us. So.
Definitely. And see, I think it's pretty cool that you and Brent both have awesome stories about your Beetle. Brent, maybe you should tell us about Dweezil here.
Wow.
Well, I just brought up your slides. So you want me to go first?
No, that's okay. I'll go. I'll go. And then that way it's a cool story, a mediocre story, and then a cool story.
Whatever you say. I think this thing's awesome, man. So yeah, tell us a little bit about the 60.
Some people may remember back on a couple of videos, or last year, a friend of mine and I built a pan buggy, and we took it to bug jam and raced it around the track. And it was converted from a 4-wheel regular buggy to a 3-wheel buggy. Him and I put a lot of work into it. It was his baby. The transmission for that pan buggy came out of this car, which he got on. Yeah, I'm looking at it on my phone. It's just sitting there. Got the little spinning wheel on top of my photo.
Okay.
I like how the flag behind you, Gary, like flows. It's almost like you have an animation. Yeah.
It's basically the fan on high because
yeah, it's a good effect. It's your green screen effect. Yeah.
All right, I think we're going out again intermittently here. I mean, we should be connected a little bit. Slade's VW says we're back, or there's Gary. Barry says we're back. Can hear and see now. All right, cool. Our education continues with troubleshooting along the way. You guys are too kind to be sticking with us through the technical issues.
Yeah,
I think we're just having some connection issues with the weather outside, but thanks again for bearing with us.
Outside is frightful. Oh, sorry.
Cool. Yeah, our stream strength is slowly coming back. All right. Let's go ahead and see if we can push forward. I think we are at the beginning of Gary's car story here. So you've got this 60, and you were explaining what its history was previous to you getting it with the transmission and so on.
Yeah. So basically, a buddy of mine that owns a shop, him and I had. Mostly him. I helped a lot building a pan buggy that you could take it from a 4-wheel front end to a single wheel front end and so forth. Anyway, we needed a transmission for the pan buggy, so it came out of this car. That's why it's drug up front and up in the air and half pulled apart. Pipes hang out of it. It was, he got it for something or nothing. I don't remember. And I just remember kept walking by it for a couple months, and then he's like, "We need to get this out of the way." And I'm like, "I just see potential." He goes, "Well, I kind of owe you, so take the car." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I'm like, "Well, what can I do with it? What can I do with it?" And I knew I had, heater channels and pans at the house, and it really didn't need much other than that, other than everything. But I just saw potential, and I started thinking, what are some of my favorite things in Volkswagens? What are some of my favorite looks? And some of those favorite looks is I enjoy, some of those real beefy off-road looking Bajas. A true Baja. I kind of like the Volksrad look where the beams extend far forward, but Jawbreaker slammed. I don't want another slammed vehicle. So I kind of just started going and figuring out kind of a plan for this thing. But yeah, there's the picture of, we got 4 tires on it and figured, okay, cross fingers that they hold air and don't fly apart on the 8-mile journey home. So
I remember that day. You had been looking for tires, and we're gonna flat tow the car. I'm like, oh, I hope that goes well. Been there before for sure.
Yeah, luckily it's only 7-8 miles to the house from his shop, so it wasn't too far, thank goodness. And we were able to make it home, nice and smooth, no issues. So
very cool.
Yeah, that was. I mean, it's kind of a boring story, but it is what it is. It's just one of those things that fell into my lap and figured, okay, well, it's just sitting here rotting. Let's at least have some fun with it. I got a lot of slack right here in this picture. You can see, I've got the front end cut up and made a homemade beam extension for the Volksrad portion of it. I got so much crap for that. People, I can't believe you cut the front end of that car off. It was rotted out. There was nothing there. What's it matter? It's either I do something with it or it's going to sit and rot more.
Right.
So anyway, so that was that, and I'm just kind of going through and just kind of doing my thing with it. Certain things spoke to me, and I believe that older vehicles have personalities, and they have something to tell you if you just sit back and listen.
Yeah,
And
you
this
got to
is-
do you.
Yeah.
And this is your second Beetle, right?
Well, this is the third Beetle.
This is your third Beetle?
Yeah. If you remember, well, I know
Does
you and
Dirty
Brett walked
Marshmallow
it.
count?
Yes, Dirty Marshmallow was actually my wife's first car. Then I got it, and then it got sold to a buddy, got given to his son, and then Levi got it before he sold it.
I got it. I remember
So
that.
anyway, I found those tires. So that kind of gives you an idea of what I'm going with the forward beam, like a Volksrad, but then still having that Baja look to it.
Yeah, that's a mean look in the front there.
Yep. And then the next picture, I think, is the one that kind of compares. Oh, no, that's showing how far forward the beam is. I forgot I sent you that one, too. So the beam is, I believe it's 9 inches forward, extended forward off of stock. So, and then the last photo kind of gives you an idea in between. One extreme to another.
I would just want to tell everybody that you see Jawbreaker sitting there. Both of these cars look awesome. And everybody thinks that Jawbreaker is a really cool looking car. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. But you haven't seen anything until you've seen that car go down the road. Like there's some cars that look really cool sitting there, like their show cars and so on, that are kind of designed for being lined up with a bunch of other cars and competing in that format, if you will. And then there's cars that just look awesome in motion. And that's where Jawbreaker really shines to me. I got to see Jawbreaker several times on that cruise that we did, I guess a couple of months ago. And man, what a cool looking car.
Yep. Yeah, I'm actually, it was kind of funny. I wish I had the camera going, but when we were coming back from brunch and we were headed down the street, and I got stuck behind this lady that was just going oh so slow, and we're trying to get back because a friend of ours is down from PA, and he had to get to the airport. He had a blowout that morning, so we're trying to hurry up and get back to the shop to get his tires changed out so he can make it to the airport on time. And here I am stuck behind this lady doing 21 miles an hour in a 50. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. So I finally just punched it and went around her, and then Levi looks at me and goes, that was rude. I'm like, what? He goes, you just probably blew Brent's eardrum. I'm like, oh, I passed him?
Oh, that's Brett.
I wasn't offended by that at all. I remember that, and that car will scoot.
It will scoot. That's the thing. And I didn't even have it fully wound up. That's the funny thing. And then we got back to the shop, and the guys pulled in a couple minutes after us from picking up the tires from the tire store, and they're like, yep, we heard you run down the road. And I'm like, oops. That's the most fun part to me is driving the car. You know what I mean? Getting out there on the road, driving the car. I mean, it's nice to sit around and have brunch with people or lunch or whatever, but man, just get out there and cruise. They're not made to sit there, in my opinion.
They're fun to work on. They're fun to dream about, and they're fun to make progress with and explore, because the design in it, like the engineering, is so fascinating on a bunch of levels. It's not just the engines that are fascinating, right? It's the way they did the accelerator pivot. You just wonder what they were thinking sometimes. Yeah, but all of that's a lot of fun. Driving it down the road is at least as much fun, if not more so. So it all leads to something even better.
I agree. All right, Brent, what about your story?
Yeah, man.
Tell me about the Weasel.
So you've got, just to wrap up here, you've got a relatively recent project that you're working on. You've got a goal. Some of it is creative, yet to be determined as you go through the project. And like Mike and myself, you're hoping to see how far you can get this year, if not totally get it done. Now, if you got it done and on the road, where would you go? Like, what's the location that you would call, if I can drive it here, I'm going to say that that's success?
Well, I've got a really sweet Pro Street transmission being built for the 60. The 2054 out of Jawbreaker is going into the 60, so it has enough power to push those big tires without lugging around.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not going to be an issue of where am I going, because it'll be able to go. It's going to be, when can I get it all wrapped up together?
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be really the kicker for me.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of part of what we're doing here. Is we say that we're setting a date to be done and picking a location that would kind of identify as success, but the real point is not so much, winning or losing or making it or not. It's doing more than we otherwise would, just pushing ourselves to do a little bit more on the project.
And holding ourselves accountable for it instead of just going, there's always next week or next month to work on it. I honestly would say if I could get it down the street into this year, I'd be ecstatic.
Sounds like a perfect goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
Maybe far-fetched, but I'm gonna really try.
There you go. Well, I'm behind you, man, and I'm close enough that if you need a hand, I can come by and help you out. Mike, you're out of luck. You're too far away.
Move in?
All right. I have to figure something out with these live streams if I need help. Like, hey.
There you go.
You're only 10 hours away, Mike.
Well, if the doctors can do it, virtual office visits, right? We should be able to do it.
There you go.
And kind of like we're doing with this whole initiative with VW Run 21, we could open that up to everyone as well and get some more live streams. By then, I might have figured out what I was doing too, which would be cool. So believe it or not, on the screen right now is a picture of Dweezil. There's a little bit of backstory here that I'll try and go through real quick. I was a dumb college kid. I wanted a car. I had no business having a car, but I wanted some kind of a project car. And I actually had a deal lined up for, I think it was a 240Z, either a 240 or a 280Z. Remember those Datsuns from, I guess, the late 70s? $150 for for that car.
Whoa.
And it would have been a ripoff. Because it ran and drove, but it was in terrible shape. And so thankfully that deal fell through. I was not able to be successful in getting that thing, but it was a neat car. But now I've really got the bug, and I'm kind of on the rebound. And my roommate, his parents had a circle of friends that would go mudding. They'd cut up VWs. This is in the 90s now, the early 90s, when VWs were not worth what they are now. If you can imagine a time that VWs were like $50 or just take it prices, that's what was going on then. So it didn't hurt as much as it would to be to see this now, but they were hacking them up. And this car got an angle grinder Baja job done to it and went mudding. It rolled. So there was a bunch of damage on the roof from this. All the fenders were totally gone, but I had to have it. So made the deal, drove it back to where I was going to school, broke down on the way, of course, and then took it apart. And it hasn't really driven on the road since then. Once, yeah, and that was in mid-90s. Once I left that area, I didn't have a place for it. I was just kind of getting started and didn't have a place to take it, so I took it back, and that's where this picture is. This is that same backyard that I bought it from. Okay. And it had been sitting there for 6 years when I finally got the opportunity to come pick up the car. The front windshield had fallen in to the vehicle, and so water was getting in for I don't know how long, and there's a tree growing up around the back of the front left tire there. And we had to cut that down. We had to get a chainsaw and cut that down to extract the car. And I learned something that day that I didn't expect would have been a possibility. But right here's a much younger Brent watching my roommate's dad help me out with this. We had a chain, and we had the car, and we had this truck, and that was it. No other rigging involved here. And he says, well, just tie a knot in the chain. I'm like, what? you can do that, and just that practical sensibility. Yeah, tie a knot in the chain. And so I did, and here I am just incredulous that it was actually holding tight a square knot in a chain. So we're yanking the car out of the weeds there, and then a bunch of us
in the back.
Whoa. Still stuff growing out of it. A bunch of us pushed it onto the trailer and obviously did not think it through. The rear tires were too wide, and it just stopped here. And we were putting it on the wrong way. We were putting it on like you would a normal car that has the engine in the front. And that's the part that we didn't solve. We did back the car up a little bit, put some skinnier tires that were just laying in the weeds on it so we could shove it onto the trailer. But it was still in this orientation, and when I got going down the road at about 45 miles an hour, it started doing this, right? Yeah. Because it didn't have any tongue weight. It was all the weight was in the back, and I kind of saw that coming. I should have been assertive and said, I was the one that was going to be driving. It's my responsibility. I should have said, can I get your help to turn it around? We got to fix this. But I was a little younger then and not quite as assertive, and what I ended up doing was there was a construction site up the street. Now, granted, this is a 4-cylinder Nissan truck.
Yep.
So not a powerhouse, right?
I like it's got a motorcycle in the back of it too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that motorcycle you see in the background in a lot of the Vandemic videos, that has its own story. But I was picking up that motorcycle that day too. But I found a construction site with a bunch of broken concrete and chucked that into the front of the trailer, and it made it more stable. A lot slower,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
made it more. So I was able to make the trip home, which was, I don't know, 600 miles, 700 miles.
Wow.
It was a little goofy. Got it home. Here's a picture just after the hurricanes. You can kind of see some cut up trees in the background there. So it survived the hurricanes of, I think that was 2004 at that point, and kind of a neat picture, I guess. I got to work on it after that and took the body off. This is a very, very sketchy way to do that. I eventually made a body lift dolly that made it a lot more possible. And here's about the time that I realized the front of this car is in bad shape.
Mhm.
Such bad shape that the damage went so far back that a Baja kit wouldn't fix it all. The damage was further back than the cut line on a Baja kit and irreparable. And so after much consternation, I said, all right, I've got to replace the front clip. And now it's silly, right? Now it's not a car that's worth saving anymore, but I've already got about 10 years of history with it. I'm attached, and I got to see this thing through.
It's still worth saving. It's still worth saving just because of the sentimental fact.
Yes, and that would be the only reason, right? And so sometimes we get into car projects because of that, not because it makes any sense from like a dollars and cents value, but we're just attached, and that's what we want to do, and that's part of our journey, right? So there I was, attached to this thing, and I found a front end of a 69. Dweezil is a 68, but here's the front end from a 69 that was the cutoff from a trike project.
Oh, okay.
And so great, I can give the rest of the car new life. Cut off front of Dweezil. What you see here is a very, very floppy Beetle shell because it doesn't have the A-pillars anymore or the front mounts. And at the very same time, I was doing both heater channels and the floor pans.
Whoa.
Not recommended.
No.
So there was a lot going on at once, but I felt like that was the only way I was going to get everything to line up. So a bazillion measurements and, do that first tack weld when everything seemed in place, and a bazillion more measurements, and it actually turned out okay. The doors are solid. They close like they should, and I think there was a big component of luck here. But
Good job,
this brings
man.
me up to present day.
Right on.
So it only took you most of your life to get to this point.
Right. Yeah. 25-year history at this point. So this is what the body looks like now. The work that I'm doing right now. Exactly. Joe's Rust Bucket says, that's when I got addicted. Yeah, that probably happened the day that I picked the thing up, but you're right.
Yeah.
The chassis has had some work done since this point, and that's the part in the videos that I need to catch everybody up on to see what happened to the chassis after kind of what you see here, and then I'll be to present day and can share the work that I'm doing right now on the body. And that's my goal, is to get this thing on the road this year, just like you guys, and keep everybody updated. That's kind of a component of this, right? That's how we connect with our online friends, to have that two-way accountability that we're looking for, and that motivation to finish our project. And so that's what the VW Run 21 hashtag is all about. So we'll be using that for sure, and I'll be including that in the video updates that happen from this point forward, and Instagram posts and that kind of thing.
So your goal for the end of the year then is to fully have this done and on the road?
I want to have it on the road. I don't know that I'll ever have a vehicle that's fully done.
Fair enough.
But legal, on the road, usable, daily driver, I'd like to have it where Project Vandemic is now. Still looking for a prettier name for the bus, but I'd like the Bug to be as functional as the bus which is not done by any means, but I'm
Well,
driving
a
it
true
every day.
project is never really fully finished, though.
Right.
And that's kind of one thing that I think some people lose sight on too. And this kind of flows right into what we're talking about finish your project this year. Well, finish it to a point where you can enjoy it. It doesn't have to be fully done. It doesn't have to be fully painted. It doesn't have to be, excuse me, whatever. I mean, because they're never done unless you take 25, 30 years or have, unlimited deep pockets for somebody else to do the work. And then what's the point? So you need to get it to a point where you can enjoy the car. And then you can start saying, okay, these are all the other things I want to do to the car. But now that you're driving it and enjoying it, you can reprioritize that.
Yep. Exactly. We have to realize that we start off with a worn out car a lot of the time. Right? We're dealing with things that we would never accept off the lot with a new car.
Absolutely.
And we're wearing it out at the same time. So if it's a daily driver that we're fixing up, there's a lot coming at us, and that's okay because that's part of the fun, but kind of a realistic understanding of the challenges we'll face makes it more digestible, and we're more prepared to deal with the issues as they come up.
Yep.
So the destination for me is the coast. I'm in Central Florida, and I'd love to drive Dweezil on the Daytona Beach coast by the end of the year. It's a long shot for me, to be perfectly honest, but you got to have a target, right?
Yep. Got to have a goal.
That's cool.
Very nice. Joe's Rust Buckets. I'm only getting glimpses of the chat, so I'm sorry I'm not keeping up very great, everybody, but Joe's Rust Bucket says, yeah, but what about our OCD? So here's the OCD component of our discussion today. So looking at our goal with the car, if you've ever heard of some super nerdy business-like things called SMART goals and a SWOT analysis, we can take that and kind of repurpose it for our needs and not get so geeked out about it. But if you think about your project and you have a specific goal in mind, like Mike, Gary, and myself have just discussed, right? You have that target that is measurable, that you can say, okay, I've achieved this or not. Then you're miles ahead of, I'm just going to work a little bit every day. Like, I'm guilty of doing that a lot, is if I just make some progress, I'm happy. And there's something to that. But if you can really say, all right, here's the end game. Here's what I want to end up with. You're going to have probably a smoother road to that point. It also needs to be realistic. Sometimes we call that achievable, and it needs to be relevant. So it has to be something you can do, and it has to be something that is important to you. So whatever the end game is for your car, make sure that that's what you're going to be satisfied with. So you're defining your goal that's going to continue to be an inspiration to you. And then set a date. That's timely, or the T in the acronym, and our date is the end of the year.
Yep.
Any thoughts on any of those points, guys?
No. Mike?
No, I think you're right. I think your goal needs to be something that's going to continue to motivate you, and I think that's sort of where I get a little personally off the reservation, where I'll be like, well, I'll get fixated on, work on the front end of this thing because it does, it needs some attention too, but that's not really part of my initial goal. It's like, I get sidetracked with, there's so many things you can get off course with when your project's in a state like ours. But that's why this is important. You set the objective of getting it running and moving, functional. And that's just where I'm going to need some help making sure I don't lose focus on that aim. And I think it's substantial enough of a goal that I can stay excited about it. So.
Good.
There you go.
And honestly, it's easy to get sidetracked. It's easy to go, I had a rough week. I'm kind of tired. Always next week. And then the following week, it's, I forgot to have this plan. So, I'll go in the garage the following week. And before you knew it, like I had that issue not too long ago, and before you know it, it was 6-7 weeks, and I hadn't touched the car.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what happened?
Here's where our friends come into play, and hopefully a larger circle of friends will will choose to be a part of this too with this whole hashtag thing we're doing with VW Run 21, because those things, those distractions, there's a lot of them that are legit. You know, there's things that we have to do that are painfully a higher priority than the car.
Okay.
And if there's someone checking in on you, saying, are you making any progress? That helps keep it top of mind. Looking back on Project Vandemic, thinking about, all right, what did I learn? And what will help me do better with Dweezil to make this the time, right? This is the time when I get started on the car again that I actually get to a finishing point. And it was actually everybody that's watching right now is my real strength in that I've learned from Project Vandemic. Knowing that I'm accountable to give an update means two things. It means I need to do the work on the car, not just for myself, but now some folks are kind of invested in it in an observational sense, right?
Yep.
I need to respect that and also do the video work as well to give those updates. And that kept the wheels turning, albeit not fast enough. I think my videos were about a month apart on average, and I should really get the content out quicker than that. But that component was there, that healthy pressure to keep working on the car. And so this is kind of an effort which started as a joke of let's see who can get their car done first.
Right, exactly.
I don't want to say formalize, but to identify that healthy pressure for a bunch of people, whoever wants to take part in it,
Yes.
to get some progress on their car this year.
Yeah. So on that note, do you want to talk, Brent, about sort of the vision for VW Run 21 and what we'd like other folks to do as far as adopting the hashtag, and what the challenge is for everybody else that's interested?
I think that's a great point, Mike.
Absolutely. So we've kind of laid the foundation for it and how we're approaching our projects, and it's just, does this sound good to anybody else? Do you think maybe following some of these tips, many of which you probably are already doing, and maybe sharing it publicly and making that public commitment would help you doing what you want to achieve? That's what VW Run 21 is. And I think it's going to work pretty well across whatever platform. It doesn't have to be a YouTube thing. So if you're active on Instagram or on Facebook or wherever, just use this hashtag. So that kind of identifies your intentions, and maybe a start off post is, hey, I'm gonna do this, however you want to do it. But identify your project, like if it has a name for it. State the goal that you're going to finish this year as part of the VW Run 21 thing. And I think it's cool to pick a destination, whether that's the coast, the end of the driveway, across the country. I'd like to do an errand. I like the shakes at Chick-fil-A. Whatever it is, pick some kind of a destination, and that's like the post that you've got in mind as you're getting into the middle of the project, right? The beginning of the project is always exciting when we're jazzed to do it. And then the end of the project is obviously really rewarding, but then in the middle, there's always that lull, right? And so that's when your buddies are going to be checking in on you because they can find you now. You've used this hashtag, and you're kind of in that circle, and you can find them by using VW Run 21. You can search for that on whatever platform. And we end up just leveraging what is already there, a really positive VW community online. So that's kind of the pitch. The three of us are going to do this. And hopefully some other folks will catch on to see if it takes on a life of its own.
Hey, Brian.
Yes, sir.
I was going through the chat, and it looks like Slade had to take off.
Okay.
But there's Vintage Speed VW joined in on us, and you know what? I know he has quite a few different projects going, so I want to personally call him out to see if he will join us and try to make some kind of commitment to getting his projects closer to being done this year.
Sounds good to me. I know he can do it.
Oh, he can do it. It's just a matter of him making it happen.
Sure.
Yep.
So there you go. The invitation is open to everybody, but we've identified Vintage Speed VW, which would be really cool if he joined in on this. No pressure, of course.
Well, I'm going to pressure him.
Total pressure. Total
Who
pressure.
do you have, Mike? Is there someone that you'd like to identify as, hey, this person should do it?
Yeah, I don't really have anybody to call out, Brent. I'm sorry. I would just encourage anybody watching this to look at what you have sitting around that you're not necessarily getting done with any sense of urgency, and just make a commitment to try to get something done by the end of the year. I know my bug has really suffered from lack of attention, and I think this is a great opportunity to sign up for a little bit of peer pressure to get it done, and constructive motivation. So I'd say just let's all work together to try to get our stuff done and get these bugs on the road, or buses, or whatever VW project you have. Just let's make use of it. I think it'll be fun.
Sounds good to me.
Apparently, I need to work with Vintage Speed VW on how to use hashtags. Not a problem, buddy. I got you taken care of. And Fix It Scotty just said he added the hashtag to his last video.
Nice.
So we're gonna have to jump in and check that out.
That's cool. I'm looking forward to finding people. Excuse me, through this, right? Just search on whatever platform, and again, it's wherever you want to be. It doesn't have to be any particular platform.
No.
The idea is there's nothing in between you and your goal here, and you can join the collective if you want, and if not, no biggie. There's no middleman or anything like that.
Hold on, Brent. Hold on. I know you just said any platform, but I'm not going to create an OnlyFans account and start there.
Speak for yourself.
I don't know. Is that a measure of success if VW Run 21 shows up on OnlyFans? I'll never know it, but
I won't either. But
but there you go. I know a good pick for you, Mike. And who is that person whose name you say on every podcast?
Yeah, Rob Stapleton.
Yes.
He called out.
Yep. I was talking to him the other day. He actually has a very interesting Beetle project that he's collected some parts for. So I hope that he'll jump in with that project.
Yeah, Rob's a great dude. I think it'd be great to see him sign up for sure.
I agree. And Backyard Commie wanted to know, what about everybody on Instagram? Yes. Doesn't matter if you're on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Does not matter. Just use the same hashtag across all social media platforms, and that will help everybody find one another and help support each other.
Yeah, absolutely. I think most of my personal updates are going to be on Instagram. Honestly, I'll probably do some videos, and I'll definitely mention progress on our podcast. Those seem to be like the podcast is probably where I have a higher priority for online content at this point, but with it.
Yeah, I honestly, I mean, I back when I first started, I had a little knockoff camera and stuff, and it worked okay, but I noticed they kept crashing and having issues, kind of like the one you were having, where it would go to the second file and there'd be a delay.
Yeah.
I just stepped it up and bought a GoPro, and I'm like, no, all of my issues are gone.
And your quality is really good now, man.
That or else your standards really dropped.
Yeah, it could be. I got a pair of glasses. All right, we got the feedback. There you go.
There we go.
Cool.
Looks like we're back.
Hey, we're back.
I think we're back.
We're back.
Had to wrestle. I don't think we're out of the woods yet. Had to wrestle with connectivity a little bit.
We are back.
And we are back.
According to my typo in the chat, we back.
We
back.
We. We're going for a binary ride here, riding the bits.
Yeah.
Okay, so right before Gary was talking about learning how to set up an OnlyFans for his new project.
That's right. Right, I'm pretty sure that's behind a paywall, right?
Yes.
Maybe. I can send you the link.
All right.
Okay. Well, the whole thing's in the tank anyway, so whatever.
Where's the technical difficulty when we need it?
Exactly.
Love it. So, to tie it all back in, whose project goes like this?
All of ours.
Yeah, is that the way it is for us VW folks, that we'll get moving on a project and then something,
Oh yeah.
maybe a recurring theme comes to interfere? But
Yep.
I don't know, maybe that's just what we expect. We kind of leave a little bit of space in our emotional preparedness for that kind of thing and trudge through it. Just push right through the issues.
I just want to say
I like
thanks
that.
to everybody for hanging in there and being patient. I mean, this stormy weather we're having right now in Central Florida is no joke, and it's playing havoc with me, and I'm only tied into you. You're hosting this,
Mm.
and I know I've noticed me kind of go in and out and pixelate a couple times. So, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
our
what it
numbers are really bad right now as far as bandwidth. They're about a fifth of what I had all through testing. So this is just something we either need to plan around or figure out, or I'll investigate. But I'm glad to know that there's issues. All right, so let's see if we can get back to the topic at hand here. It's actually, we were kind of wrapping things up a little bit. We were discussing the hashtag, right? That is open to everybody. The idea is to kind of commit to getting done this year, and if you don't make it, no biggie. It's really
Well,
about
you
That's
just need to
terribly
set
detailed.
some kind of goal for the end of the year.
yeah.
It doesn't have to be driving down the road and running across country. It could be done with this portion of the project by the end of the year.
And
I
we'll
mean,
support each other.
The point is setting a realistic goal for yourself, and then all of us coming together and holding each other accountable.
There you go. It's a beautiful model, and if you want to improve something for the world, you start with yourself, right? And that's kind of where I think each of us may be with this. Is like, all right, we have this goal, and this is a way that we can help improve our success. But why not share the approach with everybody? Not that this is an original idea or anything, but let's all work through this as the online VW community and kind of leverage some wonderful thing that's already there.
And that's kind of the nice thing. I mean, we all talk about how awesome the VW community is, and it really is, not just here on YouTube, but on Instagram and Facebook and whatever else, that platform that you use. It really is really strong. So I think if we all kind of come together more and support each other more, it's only going to get better.
Yeah. Oh, here's a tip from Hey You. In the chat, he says start with a proper shop cleanup so you can get at the car. Yeah, sage advice right there.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yep. That's great,
Yeah, good tip.
Yeah.
Mike.
Reacquaint yourself with where everything is. Yes.
Yeah, things really changed for me in my garage when I said, all right, this is just a garage. This is not storage for anything. And that was a pretty big move because garages are a catch-all.
They are.
They very easily turn into that. But when I said, okay, I have to draw a line between anything that's in here and some activity that I do in here that is shop related. But I'm not going to store stuff because, it actually gets dangerous. My shop is a little bit small for what I'm trying to do in there anyway. It's just, you work with what you've got. But it can get to a point where you're going to be tripping over stuff. So that's a great point, Hey You, that you want to make it, like you say, comfortable and tidy things up.
A safe work environment.
Yeah.
The really disciplined folks clean things up at the end of the day. I tend to clean things up at the beginning of the day, but same idea.
As long as you clean at some point. That's what
Yes, you need a clean starting point for sure. So I have a list over here, so I want to throw some darts at folks. Again, this is not to put any pressure on anyone. There's been no back channel discussions of, yeah, I'm in, go ahead. I've just thrown some names out there in making a little bit more of a formal invite to some folks that we all know and love. First of all, let's go with Backyard Combi out there in California. He's got a really sweet bus that he's working on. And I think he's on track, but if he wants to sign on to this, we'd love to have him. JW Classic VW, if you haven't seen Jason out in Texas, he is building a monster Beetle engine right now, turbo and all kinds of stuff that I know nothing about, but he's doing really cool work and providing a lot of updates. It'd be really cool to have him sign on, and I bet he'd probably beat us all to the punch.
Probably, but let's just wait and see.
Yeah, he's making great progress on that amazing thing. Maybe some of y'all don't know about Dan Love, but Busman54, one of our northern friends, is working on a 67 bus, and he is doing just absolutely amazing work. He has some challenges that some of us don't have, that just he doesn't even flinch. He just pushes right through, and he's doing some really good work on that 67. I bet he'd like to be done by the end of the year, and it's always fun to interact with him. Anybody know this guy named CT?
Nah.
What? You mean TC?
Nope, CT.
Oh, you mean the taker aparter guy?
He's one of our locals. Super cool guy. A very popular channel.
Sure.
His hard part would be picking one, because he's got so many projects, and they're all so super cool, like the Swamp Dragon, and now the Beast Chrysler that he got, the 914, of course, Rusty, and he's got a Kia. So
Bronco.
Oh, the Bronco too. That's right. So if you wanted to pick any one of those, preferably a VW, but whatever, that'd be kind of fun too.
Whatever.
Yeah. Should I keep going? I think we mentioned Slades, VW Coco in England. He's another pick one entrant. Hubertus Shaper. If anybody knows Hubertus, he's working on a later model T3. Always very pleasant. Cool. Doing really great work. There's Joe's Rust Buckets, who's with us right now. He's working on a T2, a later model T2, so check out his channel. It'd be cool to have him along for the ride. Ooh, more thunder and lightning here. VW 618.
Wow, I actually heard that.
Yeah, that was a good one. You may hear the dog whining here in a second, so hopefully everything stays up and running. I heard something. Anybody seen Dream Wrench's channel?
No,
I haven't
He's
heard
working
that.
on a square back, but there's a channel named Dream Wrench. I haven't seen an update from him in a while, but he makes some really good videos, and it's a super cool square back. So if he gets word of this and wants to jump in, it'd be great to have him too. And check out his channel. Check out Dream Wrench. We mentioned Annie's VW the other day. She's going to beat every one of us. She's going to finish no matter what. She doesn't need the accountability buddies thing, but it seems really cool, and maybe she'll join us, and it'll be cool to have anybody that wants to jump in.
Yep, we had Rob Stapleton and Vintage VW Speed already say that they'd be in. There's this one wacky dude, man. He's got like several screws loose. Good old Mike said he would be down to join.
Yeah. Woo.
Oh, crazy. Sorry, I forgot he was on.
Oh, damn it.
Speaking of good old Mike, I want to thank you for submitting the music for today. You've got a track called Everything. I believe it's unreleased, but that was our intro music, and I'll use it here shortly for the outro as well. But thanks very much for contributing that, Mike, and everybody should check out good old Mike music, because he's got some pretty cool tracks that I believe you've recorded and mixed it all. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, thanks for that. Anywhere you stream music, you should be able to get some tracks. Just search for good old Mike. You'll find it. So
and you won't be disappointed.
All streaming proceeds go to charity. So there's that. A couple of other names that came to mind. I'd like to throw out there just off the top of my head. There's Jason Vogan has a ragtop he's working on.
Oh yes, good call.
If he wants to join in from Old Volks TV.
Yep.
Marcy Junebug, I'm not sure if she wants to put a goal out there for the end of the year. Love Marcy.
Good one. Yeah.
And of course, VW Nut 1967. Sure, he probably has a project or two he could.
5150 MX VW. He would be in the pick one category for sure, but
definitely pick one. Yeah.
Hey, you in the chat. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
No, that's it. Just want to shout out to those guys and say, hey, if you're interested.
Hey, there's also a small channel that's also kind of local to us as well, Brent. Matt Lindquist. He's actually been working on a buggy off and on for a while, so I would like to see him actually get that thing finished up and down the road.
Yeah, there you go. And you said he's got a channel?
Yeah.
I think I've
Yep.
seen it before. Yeah, of course, not a requirement. Just anywhere
No.
you're on social media is cool, like we said. But yeah,
Yep.
that'd be cool. Hey, you's asking about Hannah's bug. I think I remember seeing that. I don't think she's given any updates in a while, but
I haven't seen
that
anything
pops
either.
up on the homepage every now and then, which is pretty cool. So if you're out there, Hannah, go ahead and let us know and join in. It'd be great to have anybody.
Please.
Okay. Any final thoughts before we put this one to bed here?
I could open it up a can of worms, man. Don't ask those kind of open-ended questions.
I think my router's going to
No,
die
I'm
before we
just
get to drag it
excited.
on too long.
Yeah, I'm just holding my breath.
No more comment.
Yeah, I'm still
Wrap it up,
getting
wrap it
really
up,
bad. Yeah, we're out again. So
Oh,
when it picks back up again, it's trying. We'll close it out. We've gone on more than an hour anyway.
it
Oh,
looks
it's still going on my end.
like it's still going from here.
Yeah, okay.
It's still going.
All right. Boy, this has been touch and go. So, all right. I think if anybody's still watching, thanks so much for checking out our little live stream here. We'll go ahead
Yeah.
and call it. Yeah, what you got, Mike?
Yeah. Yeah, just guys, if you want to participate in VW Run 21, just make a post and put in the post the tag hashtag VW Run 21 and with a statement of what you're trying to do. And that's how you can get kind of connected and with the effort. And we
Yep.
did. I'm seeing the clocking now. So
And for those that don't understand what a hashtag is, it's the pound sign. The pound sign, VW Run 21, just as you see it on the screen. That's all you need.
Cool. We got a confirmation from Rob that we're still on, and then we were gone.
now we're dead.
And so, all right.
We're good.
Thanks once again. Thanks to VW Jawbreaker Gary and good old Mike for being a part of this. I certainly appreciate your support and your patience with all the technical issues. And thanks to everybody watching. We really do appreciate your enthusiasm. Hopefully the next one goes better from a technical level. But I couldn't be happier about what appears to be some interest in this project and having the support of a couple of good friends. We said before this started that it could go down the tubes, and just as long as we have fun, it's cool. It's fine, and I've had fun.
All
So
right.
I hope everybody else
It's
has
been
enjoyed
fun.
themselves. All right. So thanks everybody. Gonna go ahead and close this one out. Let me see if we can get some of those cool tunes going here. There we go. So check out good old Mike music. This is his track, everything that you hear playing right now, and we'll leave you all with that. So thanks very much again, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll see you all again soon.